Coverage surrounding a critical question for Tennessee schools. How much learning loss has occurred between March, when the pandemic started, and now for Tennessee students? The Education Commissioner's predictions last week has caused alarm for superintendents across the state.
Fox 17 News' Alex Apple got answers from Dr. Penny Schwinn about when our teachers will have that data.
The Education Commissioner defended her decision to announce last week that learning loss predictions could be up to 50%. Now, in a matter of weeks, most school districts, if they're doing an assessment, will know exactly where their students stand, and the hope is that teachers will find that the actual learning loss is far less than that 50% number.
Education Commissioner Penny Schwinn told superintendents on a call last week that her learning loss statistics were just projections taken from old and new data pre- and post-pandemic. Representative Scott Sapicki on the state's Education Committee yesterday questioned their legitimacy.
So if you really wanted to know where our students are currently, like she's talking about, so we can make good decisions moving forward, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, all of the LEAs across the state will have all of the relevant information right now so that we could do a real-time evaluation of exactly the learning loss.
Today, Schwinn stood by the data and said it's a best guess based on 30,000 student assessments already completed in Tennessee.
They did a predictive estimate, same as last week, using performance data over past years in TCAP.
Turns out the commissioner's learning loss predictions do use old pre-pandemic data. But those numbers were compared against the 30,000 assessments of Tennessee students already completed this fall.
The information that was put out was an effort to, and continues and remains to be an effort, to learn as much as we can about learning loss as soon as we can learn it. That includes looking at information from before the pandemic.
Many districts are doing their early assessments right now. In a matter of weeks, teachers will know firsthand how their students dropped off. So we asked what the state does from there.
Is that just a fact of life for them, or is there something that can be done? I mean, individual learning plans, I don't know.
It means that the job is harder. That is why you see people working more hours and working harder than ever. And it is our responsibility to provide them with as many supports as we can.
The state has $40 million in grants from the federal government that it can give to teachers who see a substantial amount of learning loss in their students. That's really the best way that the state can help support those teachers in the classroom.
Nashville woman says she has concerns about a Green Hills nursing home taking care of her mother after finding out about a coronavirus outbreak there from the news. Fox 17 News' Nikki Jenowitz tells us tonight that's not her only concern.
It's a question many of us don't like to think about. Who will take care of us when we can no longer take care of ourselves? For Helen Cunningham, who's 87 years old, that incredibly important job is in the hands of the Green Hills Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. And her daughter Cherie says that is what keeps her up at night.
I have my days every day where I just have that mental breakdown, worrying about my mom. Is she okay?
Cherie's mom has dementia, Alzheimer's, a skin condition. But what worries her most is what she calls a lack of transparency from center administrators after learning about a coronavirus outbreak from watching TV. According to the state, 28 of the 58 residents tested positive for COVID-19, along with 15 staff members. One person died.
That's something you should have called and told the family members. That's something you shouldn't have to find on the news.
And Fox 17 News reached out to administrators to ask how families of residents are notified of coronavirus cases. And we received the following statement. We are committed to keeping our lines of communication open and encourage all families with questions to reach out directly to the administration. We were also told that families are notified via daily text messages, open phone calls, as well as personal phone calls.
But Cunningham says she's not receiving them and is worried that's not the only message she's not receiving.
And I'm my mom's voice and I'm her advocate. So don't get it twisted because those doors are closed that the family's not involved. Because I'm very, very, very involved in my mom's care.
After only 2 weeks back in the classroom, a Metro school for children with special learning needs is the first to quarantine students and return to virtual learning after several staff members there test positive for the virus. Fox 17 News' Kathleen Cerise now live from Cora House School over in East Nashville with the very latest on what's happening.
Well, Scott, there are 69 students currently enrolled in Cora Howe here for
from K through 12, and 33 of them were back in the building when Metro Schools gave parents that option to return to in-person learning starting on September 16th. Of course, now those 3 staff members testing positive has sent all of them back to virtual learning for now. Now, this comes at the advisement of the Metro Public Health Department, telling the school to do this until October 13th. A spokesperson says this quarantine is happening out of an abundance of caution because many of the students here at Cora Howe are medically fragile. Now, they say the 3 staff members who tested positive were all in separate situations. Today, I talked with Metro School Board Chair Christian Buggs, who also represents the district that this school is in. She says she supports the decision to temporarily close it.
I have a 2-year-old son. Heaven forbid he were in a school that has now been deemed COVID positive. He comes back to me. He has grandparents that he sees regularly. I have siblings that have medical issues. This is scary. This is not something we should be taking lightly.
Students with disabilities like the ones here at Cora Howe were among the first to phase back into in-person learning in Metro schools. The rest of Metro schools were going to start phasing back into the classroom after fall break on October 13th. Of course, now Buggs says on Friday at a previously scheduled board retreat, they'll be talking about their COVID safety procedures and how that's going to look for the rest of the year, especially with this most recent news of Cora Howe being quarantined. Now, just last week, Metro schools parents responded to a survey asking if they wanted their kids to either go back into the school building or remain virtual. Of the 75% of parents who responded, about 54% of them chose to send their children back to the classroom.